Greetings, folks. So again, this is Jessica Shepard, school psychologist. I am recording a video for you today so that I can update you about transitions. This today happened at a great time. We just had a transition assistance partnership meeting. I'll explain to you what that is, but it just absolutely could not have come at a better time and was a great reminder for me to help give you guys this information that is needed. So agenda for the video. Obviously, you've gotten an email from me if you're watching this video right now, and that will have the links to the information that I will show you today. When I did a special education update video, I had kind of one document. This one I don't necessarily have a summary document, so you'll have to click on each one separately, but then there are links within that one. Just in case any administrators just wanted to hear about Job Corps, as I discussed in the email, I will talk about that first, and then we'll go on and talk about some of the other things that are included in your email. So first, to get started, I had the opportunity to hear again about Job Corps this morning, and of course I've heard about it before, but it seems like I always forget some things when they talk to us, and now I kind of had a couple students in my mind, so I wanted to review with you some of the information that we learned. Darren Barnes is the individual that was able to talk with us today, and basically I've really given you some very, very rough notes from his conversation that he had with us. Basically and so you can access that, again, it's through the meeting minutes March 22nd, 2017 document. That will be the Transition Assistance Partnership document that you have. So some of the summary information from this. I must admit, I was always under the understanding that Job Corps was something that students were only eligible for this if they were considering dropping out of school, if they had already dropped out of school, and I didn't really know that it was something we really wanted to consider because, of course, we're all very worried about our graduation numbers, and I was worried that this would affect them. However, what I was told today, and it's probably been in effect for a long time and might be reviewed for you, I apologize, but essentially those students go in and they work towards a GED. And then once they actually receive their GED, then of course they focus more on the work. The schedules for those students when they enter Job Corps is to have 1 week of on-the-job training and then a week of education, and it just continues swapping over until such a point when the student meets the requirements for their GED or whatever certification they're seeking, and then they kind of focus more on the job training or the vocation. However, so they get a GED eventually, but once the student actually completes the whole program for Job Corps, they leave with a Nebraska diploma. So there's no longer this issue of, they only get a GED, or they don't get anything at all. They can graduate with a Nebraska diploma. Trying to think about some other things. Basically, it's like a student transfer. So when we consider a student for this program, if they decide to attend, students with an IEP, students without an IEP, basically the student just kind of transfers into the Job Corps system. So it's almost like they're their own standing school. Some of the things that he talked to us about, he takes kids as young as 14 and 15, but prefers not to take them necessarily, and depending upon the situation, he always says it depends, until 16, and then can take them up through age 25. And how Job Corps works, there's lots of rules and regulations for this. The students are held highly accountable for their time. There's certain requirements. I know he talked about some cell phone requirements and some very clear disciplinary action for any time that rules are broken, but rules are very clearly established for them. It's just kind of a very structured system where students learn some of that real life educational training, and then also learn a vocation as well. He indicated that a lot of the areas that he has now are kind of health related, and they are also like business management kind of areas. He did say that once students kind of graduated from Job Corps, they can then move on to like a central community college or something and then gain some additional skills if they're looking for something different. So looking at his notes, just quickly scanning to see if there's anything else. I just thought this was very interesting. It was something that I guess I didn't know enough about. So you can look through those notes. There are a couple kids that came to my mind, so I might be talking to a couple of you about students that I think this might be something we want to consider. If nothing else, Darren was a wonderful resource, and even if he's always willing to come out and actually talk to students or talk to teachers and let them know what the process is going to look like. So that is something for us to consider. So I will let you read the rest of that in regards to Job Corps, and we will just move right on and kind of continue looking at the rest of the information I want to share with you in regards to transition. So I mentioned this morning that we had a Transition Assistance Partnership meeting. Here's our folder so you can see some of the resources that we utilize. Basically what this group is it's a group of individuals who have a stake in students transitioning and getting to an appropriate job or an appropriate living environment. So we have people from Job Corps, from here at ESU 9. Voc Rehab attends these meetings. We invite a lot of people. Not everybody can always show up, certainly. So we also have Nebraska Youth Leadership Council that's invited. We have some individuals from Central Community College that come and talk to us as well. Goodwill Industries is a part of this. We have a counseling center and kind of a group home that also comes occasionally. Nebraska Respite Network, and then Department of Labor. So we have lots of people that are interested in these students that come together, and it's just a great time for everybody to share resources, to kind of talk more about what everybody's about. I know that's something that I found beneficial this year. So that is where the Job Corps information came from. Also, Mosaic presented to us as well, and just gave us some background information on them. And you can see those notes as well in the form. Let me see them for you. So Jackie was able to present to us about Mosaic, some very basic things about them that students can apply at 14, and this is something that she strongly encourages because there is a wait list for students. And Mosaic is one of those agencies, I suppose is what I would call them, where they want to make sure that they're surrounding their clients with services. So they will try to make sure that clients have a place to stay, or work with them to find a place to stay. They work with developmental disabilities. They might work with Voc Rehab. They definitely branch out and work with a lot of people. One of the main things that she indicated is basically that if you have a particular student who's considering a placement like this, the student has to have an IQ below 70 and have DD services in place. If you have this kind of student, she said tour. That's the best way to gain information, is to bring the parents up, come up as well as teachers, and walk through that process with the parent to help make the best decision for that student. So then we received that update on Job Corps as well. Let's see, Respite Network didn't have any updates necessarily. There's a few things coming up that don't necessarily aren't necessarily things that we may be attending as teachers. The only other two things that I would draw your attention to are the South Central Resource Guide. This is a sheet. It's attached. You'll find it here. I guess I can click on that for you. This has not been updated since 2014. We kind of got started on that today, so we will be updating that. Basically, it provides lots of telephone numbers for potential resources that you might find helpful as you're looking for students in the future. PTI resources is on there, Hastings Family Planning, Respite Care, just a long list of resources. One thing that I kind of think is a little bit helpful is also this Who You Gonna Call, because it's sort of that in-between piece as to where we go to find resources. This sheet has been disseminated before, but again, it's another thing for you to look at as to what websites you might go to or phone calls you might make initially, depending upon the various issues that you have or the needs that you have. So that's available to you as well. Let's get rid of this. So that's kind of about all that we were able to talk about in Transition Assistance Partnership. So then I will move along to potential placements for students after high school. This is a document that's in the email as well. What this is as a PLC group, so those of us that are working in schools, we knew that we had to tackle transition, and we felt like we didn't necessarily know what resources were available. So Cindy Nesh Club has been kind enough to set up some agency tours for us. And so our group has gone out and just kind of tried to get to know these agencies better, what they do, what requirements are, so that we can help serve you guys better, and certainly help students down the road as well. So I've simply written some notes for those placements that we've looked at already. We were able to tour Mosaic already, so there's some additional information in there, and then also some brochures, a link there that they have provided to us, and then the same information, I added that as well from the Transition Assistance Partnership meeting is on there as well. We were able to tour Mid-Nebraska. This is not the only facility, just like Mosaic, they're found in various places. Also learned a little bit about them. They do similar work to Mosaic, and they're very client-centered as well, so they want to find out what the client wants to do and then try to make that happen to the best of their ability. They have opportunities for clients to get paid, or they have opportunities for clients to simply do things that they find enjoyable. So you can see some of that information there if you're interested. Again, something that was stressed to us was that if you have an interest in it, then please certainly come and tour. They would love to see you, and they would love to have you see their facilities as well. In the future, we will be viewing Goodwill, and then we will also have developmental disabilities come talk to us. You can see our schedule here. So April 3rd, we will see Goodwill, and then May 8th, DD will come talk to us. So a note about that, if you read it in the email, this is something that we want to have available to resource teachers. It's obviously something that is, I think, very important that you guys have access to some of those answers. Obviously, we know that DD is dealing with a lot of federal changes, just the same as vocational rehab is, so they're kind of trying to process those changes together. They will not have all of the answers for us, and some of the answers may change, but this was also a good informational session. I'm hoping that we can just learn some of their processes, some of their criteria, just to make our jobs easier as we work with kids who might need DD services. So you should have a flyer that will be coming out to you soon. Cindy is working on that as well. And our goal is just to get a Zoom link established so that those of you that want to tune in, because again, it's only going to probably be about an hour's worth of information or less, you have the opportunity to tune into that link and hear the information, and then go right back to your schools, because I know a lot of us are at a distance and it's very hard to come to the unit. So keep that in mind and certainly pencil it into your schedules if that's something that interests you. Moving on down the list, then the last thing I want to chat with you about is the NDE Transition Conference. I got to see a couple of you at this, which was nice to see. It was a very interesting conference and definitely learned a lot, got some interesting information. You have the link to these documents in the email that I sent you. Basically, it includes all of the conference documents that we have. So table of contents will take you to the notes that were taken. And then any links then will take you to those actual handouts or different websites or things that were provided as resources. These notes were a joint effort. I cannot take credit for this. This was Jessica Moore, Sue Chaplesky, I had Gailey Mueller there, Lauren Isaacson contributed, Carrie Beatty, and then myself. I hope I didn't forget anybody. All contributed to these notes to some extent. So basically, you'll get to see some of our thoughts on some of the sessions. Some things that I wanted to point out to you were related to, let's see, trying to find it here. Okay, creative tools for uncovering assets, strengths, and work preferences. I love you'll get to read my notes. I love this session, even though I was very skeptical. We actually got to kind of engage in these activities as if we were students, and I appreciated that, because otherwise I might have just tossed aside the handout and would not have really bought into it as much as I did. These are very interesting. Again, the handouts are available to you. These can be very helpful for our students who, we have students who are reluctant, that I don't want to do anything, I want to sit at home with mom, or I don't plan on working for the rest of my life. It kind of does some forced choice with our students where we give them options, and it's either, this or this, those kind of options. But this is also another way to look at it where we look at the students' values and we don't sit and ask them what their values are. We understand that conversation might be hard for some of our students. So instead we ask them really thought-provoking questions, and I can show you some of those, about things that they enjoy or things that they would like. So I want to see, here we go. So basically the students would be asked questions. So if I were to receive an award, it would be for, and you can tell there's lots of thought-provoking questions here. Those are great ways for us to figure out what means something to that student, and then that can kind of help us gear into what job or what placement or what skills that student is going to want to engage in, or things that they absolutely would not be successful in if we push that on them. So I really appreciated this resource. Overall, the speaker had some really good information, and she was definitely pressing about things, about placements where we kind of create a placement for a student if we have to, which I appreciated. Let's see, another thing I wanted to chat with you about was also this what if. Lana Nelson from ESU 11, she provided good information. I was not able to attend this session, but it was highly reviewed by a couple of other people who did. She talked about, some different ways to engage students in sessions, and of course, establishing relationships with students. Some great tips and tricks in here about things that are helpful when working with our students. There's one more. What I wanted to also talking about assessment, making sure that we are actually considering our students' needs. And I meant to bring them here, and of course I've forgotten them, but we have lots of resources here at the unit as well. We have career inventories, those kind of things. If you ever need those, please let me know. I can bring them down for you. If you just want me to bring copies so you can peek at them, let me know as well. We have those resources available. And basically one thing we heard from speakers was to evaluate those, and look at them frequently. Don't just do it once within a student's four-year high school career and assume that that information is the same. I think most of you do this and do a good job of this, so I'm not terribly worried about our schools. The only other piece, and of course I can't seem to find the actual notes for it right now, but one thing that was really stressed in regards to some of the legal pieces was that we wanted to make sure that we are developing plans for students appropriately. So, we want to make sure that we're using evidence-based practices. We also want to make sure we're following the law when we establish experiences for our student. And so there are some unique rules and regulations for that. So as you are considering maybe placing a student in a job placement, definitely include a team in that particular discussion so that we can make sure that laws and regulations are followed, because they can get a little complicated. That's kind of how I'll summarize that. So overall, I appreciate you bearing with me. Of course, I always think the videos will be short, and they never end up being that way. But you have all the resources available to you. And I guess if you have any questions, then please email me, text me, or call me and let me know. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.